go.
Where'd you get the huddle lanyard?
My dad, because my dad's still coaching.
That's for like the football helmets, right?
For the football film.
Oh,
it's the app
gotcha.
for film. Yeah, he does the D line for North Attleboro High School, and then
really?
he arranges all of their film because he's like a fucking like defense whiz.
How long has he been doing that for?
Forever, dude.
He definitely coached my friend. He played for North Attleboro.
When?
My roommate in college.
Oh no! He just started there a couple years ago.
Oh, okay.
He was one of my coaches in high school, and when I was really young, he actually got Salve their first Super Bowl in the '90s. He was the defensive coordinator.
No way.
Yeah.
Does he still work at Salve too, or no?
No, he did that when I was like really young.
That's cool.
But we have a ring at my house.
It's way.
Sick. It's fucking sweet.
That's dope.
Yeah. It's everybody popping into the TikTok live right now. We're getting on the podcast. This is Dr. Matt, and he was nice enough to have me on his podcast, the Roadie Strength podcast, here at our very own Bullfrog Fitness Performance Center.
Cheers, man. You get the bang, I get
Cheers.
the Celsius.
Yeah.
Make it happen. We might start slow and then kind of speed up.
Yeah, in the
how
middle,
we're talking through this podcast.
Yeah, like 15 minutes in.
Do you want to turn the camera angle so you can see you a little more?
Oh, do you want to? Here, let me get it like that. Yeah. Like that. That should be all right.
All right, cool.
Here we go.
So
Sweet.
I got it recording now, but we'll officially get this thing started.
Cool.
And I know that the TikTok's live, but I can edit this in post afterwards. If
Yeah,
there's anything you want to say,
Yeah.
like, hey, didn't mean to say that. You can take that out. But
yeah.
all right, cool. We're pulling up. Did you get a chance to look at the outline at all?
I did.
Sweet.
I took a quick look at it. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, because like from the other episodes I listened to, I like caught like the comment like the coffee ones and like stuff like that. I was like, oh, that's cool.
So you're prepped for it.
Yeah, I'm prepped enough. I'd
Oh
say.
yeah. All right, I'm gonna give my little spiel. What's going on, guys? Dr. Matt here, host of the Roadie Strength podcast. We got a special guest on today, Ross Maggs. Mags?
Mags. Yeah.
Also known as Ross Rain of the
Hell,
Stone Nobles.
What's going on?
And full name Ross, you're going to have to help me on this one, Magliocco?
Yeah, you got it. That's it.
Let's go.
Dude, if you get it first try, that's like tough, man.
Right.
It's tough.
Perfect.
Hell yeah.
So just a quick background on him. He's the lead singer and guitarist.
Rhythm guitarist as well, yeah.
Rhythm guitarist of the Stone Nobles, which I saw personally live recently, and you guys absolutely crushed it.
Hell yeah, dude.
It was such a fun show to go to. You actually just posted some. I think either you posted or reposted something about this the other day. Might have been on Instagram about how people are shelling out all this money for I think it was Morgan Wallen or like Taylor Swift tickets, like $300, and you're like, and you can't even see the stage. You're like, yeah, you know what? You just come to a local show. You get a better experience, and you can like have this lead singer like spit on your on your face.
Right, exactly. And it's $5, man. It's $10.
So that was a great time.
Hell yeah.
But so usually I start these podcasts out with the rapid fire questions. These are mostly for my benefit because I think they're interesting, but hopefully the listeners will get a little benefit out of it as well. And I guess we'll introduce Skelly Slater right here.
Slater, everybody. That's good.
I forget who named that for me, but I'm like, all right, I'm going with that.
Had to be a surfer.
Yes.
Had to be a surfer.
He's rocking the BullFrogFit hat. We're recording out of the BullFrogFit Studios here.
Yeah, he's keeping time too.
Yeah, he's he's keeping us on track. So we got first rapid fire question. It's favorite coffee shop, and this could be anywhere. It could be where you are here, Rhode Island, or maybe anywhere you've traveled. But what's your favorite coffee shop?
Okay, favorite coffee shop. I think Cafeology on Thames, because for a couple of years I lived right at, on the street next to there, and I would walk on the way to work. I would walk to Cafeology, grab a cold brew or whatever.
That's awesome.
I'm like the girl who owns Cafeology I worked with at the Red Parrot. So like
that's cool.
I got hooked up there a couple times.
Dude,
every now and then if they don't have the register on, they'd be like, "Oh, just take it." They're always like really cool and very accommodating, and they got good stuff, man. I'm always there. So
I love that answer. Nobody shouted out Cafeology yet.
I'm surprised.
Nobody shouted that out, and they're a good spot.
Yeah,
they're a good spot.
It's a great spot.
They're one of the first places I saw in Newport that has the affogato.
Yes.
The espresso with a little scoop of ice cream in it.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Well, because they do those like crazy like Instagram milkshakes.
Okay. Yep.
So they have ice cream. You know? So like that was like they figured, all right, well, let's do that too.
That's a great spot. It's cool inside there too.
It is. They're always like updating. It's very contemporary.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it's fun. They're selling like weird like local merch and stuff from like other companies and stuff. Like,
Awesome.
yeah, I know. It's a cool place.
I like that. That's a good answer.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Next one we got favorite go-to breakfast. Now this could be, you could choose your answer here. Either kind of what you wake up and you're like, this is my go-to like perfect breakfast in the morning, or maybe a breakfast spot around here.
Okay. All right.
Or you can do both if you want.
Go to like every day. Gotta be whole eggs. First off, you know it as well as I do. We do the carnivore stuff, right? And it I try to just have another protein in there too, like whether it be like sausage or bacon, or if I have some like leftover steak, I'll do steak and eggs. I know we've been told to do steak and eggs every day, but maybe sometimes you can't afford steak and eggs every day, but I try to.
And if you can, it's probably some low-level steak.
Yeah, it'll be like, I mean, you can get some steak for cheap, so like it's interchangeable, but it's eggs and something, and then it's a whole lot of water.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. If I had the option to do steak and eggs every day, I 100% would go for it. But it's tough. It can be tricky to hold that to yourself to that standard every day.
Right. If you can buy your shit, like, I mean, like, you know how we've been doing it, like, with the farms lately, like, buying from the farm?
Yeah.
That makes it a lot easier.
Totally.
Because you have, like, 70 pounds of beef.
Yeah.
Like, all right, well, we got to eat this stuff. So, like.
Yeah, totally. Too bad they got rid of the freezer down there. They had some good stuff. Slate Hill.
I know. We've been going to, I think, what is it, Savage Hill Farms?
Oh, nice.
In Berlin, Connecticut. That was the last one that I did with Zach.
Cool.
But
that's the way to do it.
It's awesome. It's like $5 a pound.
Yeah, and you buy it in big stock.
Yeah, you get like all different cuts. You get like 20 pounds of ground. You get like 10 ribeyes. You get like 10 strips. You get so much freaking food that like I didn't have to buy meat for like 3 months, and I spent $3.50 on like a quarter of a cow. And it was
wow,
it was insane, man. It's insane.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's how you do it, man.
And you're getting good quality, nothing like factory farmed, like, which is unreal.
Right, it's all like farm raised, super fresh, like humane meat.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
That's really cool.
It's awesome.
My next question, rapid fire, I switched up a little bit for you personally.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
What's your, and I know the answer to the general answer. You can say it anyway, but maybe give me a top two.
Okay.
So favorite band you're listening to right now.
Okay, yeah. You know my number one, yeah. So, I mean, my two that I always say to people on TikTok and stuff, it's Greta and Ghost.
Okay.
Greta and Ghost. Greta, what really I've been listening to religiously for probably a little under 5 years now. And, like, ever since I first heard them, like, when I heard, like, their song Black Smoke Rising on their first album, like, I literally bought my first guitar the next day.
Wow.
The next day. And like I have, their singer Josh to thank for like all of the like vocal practice that I've done, because now on TikTok I do a lot of stuff like where I impersonate him, and a lot of people have come to, know me for that. But so I really have them to thank for like a lot of my musical capabilities and like a lot of my drive in music.
That's really cool.
It's them, and then Ghost, who I saw the other night. I don't know if you're familiar with Ghost.
No.
They have they have that one song that's really big on Instagram. You go down just like Holy Mary, Mariana, Mariana. Yeah. I've been listening to them for a pretty long time as well, and it's really cool to see that they're like getting this like massive mainstream success now, because they're one of the coolest bands in the world. They have like the costumes, and they have like a whole lore behind all their music, and they sing about like really like sinister but very like literate stuff. But it's very like fun, accessible, just badass like rockin' music.
That's cool.
They're just awesome.
Where are they out of? Do you know?
They're Swedish.
Really?
Yeah, they started in like 2009, I think it was, in
that's cool.
in Sweden, and they got big in Sweden, and they started getting pretty big in the States in like the mid 2010s. And they used to get a lot of crap from the metal community because critics used to call them Swedish death metal, but they don't sound like death metal. They sound like goth Bon Jovi, or like
okay
satanic Scooby-Doo music, as I call it.
like maybe I could be way off basis, but like kind of like an Ozzy Osbourne type flair to
Definitely
it.
a lot of like Sabbath type of sound.
Like
Yeah.
not like screaming, but like like it has the same alliteration type or like
Yeah.
storytelling
Lot
as that. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
A lot of
yeah,
very dark
yeah,
sort of
yeah.
storytelling and very tongue-in-cheek
Mm.
lyrics, but very melodic, very fun
Yeah,
music.
yeah.
And I think they're just a really fun band, and I draw a lot of inspiration from them too. They're my other band tattoo. I got Greta and Ghost. Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're awesome.
I don't know if you've talked about this much on your like TikTok or your followers, or if you want to talk about it, how you were just in Wisconsin, right? Michigan, and you got pretty close to a lot of the Greta like family and like the fans out there.
Yeah, dude, it was freaking awesome. I walked in because I didn't really know what to expect, but I walked in with my buddy Atlas, who was in one of the other bands that we played with, and he was nice enough to like drive me around everywhere. He like literally I got off the plane in Detroit and we shot up like 100 miles north to go to Frankenmuth, where Greta's from.
Gotcha.
And their like team, like their the parents and this comedian and radio host that's local to Frankenmuth, Melissa Hager, put on this big event as like a big pre-release party, and there was a bunch of like local fans there. People had like paid to get tickets there. Like thankfully I didn't have to buy a ticket because they had asked me to come, and it was super cool. I walked in and everybody knew who I was. Like everyone was
so cool
coming up to me and stuff, and it felt like it was super surreal. But I got to meet some people within their circle and their bloodline. Like there was so their drummer's name is Danny, and so this girl walked up to me who I recognized. I didn't know why I recognized her, but I recognized her face. And she came up to me and she said, "Hey, I just want to let you know I follow you on TikTok. I love all your stuff. I think your stuff is great. I show my brother your stuff all the time. I'm Josie. I'm Danny's sister." And I was like, I forgot where I was for a second.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh yeah, Danny, yeah, sure." And then when I walked away, I looked at my buddy Atlas, and I was like, she was talking about Danny Wagner. He's like, "Yeah, that was Josie Wagner." And I was like, oh. And so becoming aware of the fact that like these guys know about what I do is like really cool.
That's awesome.
So it was a dope experience. Just to, like even just to be there was just so cool.
And do you have potential plans in the future to kind of like meet up with them again, or?
I'm certainly gunning for it. I'm in loose contact with that lady that I mentioned, Melissa Hager. She was great. I was introduced to her. We talked for a little bit, and she was like, "Oh, because the Kiskas, their parents couldn't make it for the hours that I was there.
Sure,
because they were dealing with some business stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
But she was like, they really want to meet you. So like, if you ever want to come back, like if you want to like arrange something. So Melissa, I'm gonna hold you to that if you ever hear this.
Right.
Because I would love to meet them. I'd love to any connection I can have with my favorite band would be
so cool.
Would be way more than I could ever ask for. So like.
That's so dope.
It feels good, man. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, that sounds like you guys had an incredible trip out there.
Yeah,
as
far,
cool, was that essentially your first like out of state like big tour that you guys have done too?
Yeah.
Essentially, yeah.
Because otherwise we tend to see playing shows as a thing where it's like, okay, so based on how we work, like we all have day jobs, we all obviously have bills to pay.
Yep.
But we want to make this dream come true.
Totally.
And we're going to do everything we can to make that happen in our way. So I say it to people on TikTok Live all the time whenever they ask. We're like, "Oh, when are you going to come to this day? When are you going to come to this day?" I'm like, when we're able to. Ideally, of course, we want to get on the road.
Yeah.
But I think part of that comes with knowing that you can fill up a room with people who want to listen to your music.
Totally.
And so Michigan was the first time we really ever ventured out of New England. To play, and it was like, it was so well received.
That's awesome.
We played 2 shows in a row, and they were both like rooms full of people who were just obsessed and really like loved the music, and were there to see us, and were there to see these other bands, and it was just so dope.
That's so cool. Where do you see? Obviously, Michigan seems to be a hot spot right now for for rock music. It seems like, right? Like rock, like punk, or like metal.
100%.
What other places does Rhode Island have a big community for that right now, or is it growing, or is it?
I don't. All right, so I never like to drag the Rhode Island music scene.
No, we gotta lift it up.
Exactly.
Because we're getting there. Yeah.
Right, because like Rhode Island's a great state.
Mm-hmm.
I say this all the time. Rhode Island's a great state, but the one thing it doesn't have is the one thing that we need, and that is a big boistering music scene with bands that make it out of there.
Right.
Because a lot of the times there's a lot of that like support local artists.
Sure.
And everyone kind of supports
like
each other.
AS220, like that type of stuff. Smaller venue stuff, like local stuff.
But in Rhode Island, there's kind of those really small down low venues, and then there's your big guy venues.
Totally.
There's really no ladder in between. But then you got places like Detroit, and you got places like, Nashville and LA, and even like Austin, Texas, down south like Louisiana and Georgia. All have really like boistering rock and metal scenes where bands are able to climb ladders a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And I feel like around here it's a little bit tougher. New York is another good example.
Sure.
But Rhode Island, it's a little bit tough to climb a ladder that isn't really there.
You got to build the ladder and then climb it.
That's the way we look at it, man.
Yeah.
We're like, right, well, we gotta, we want to be those guys,
Right.
So it's, but I mean, I love. I do love playing in Providence because at the end of the day, it's where we come from. So
Providence, even though it's a smaller city, which is crazy to me that like it's the third biggest city in New England, but if you think about, is it the third or the second? I think Worcester is bigger than Providence.
I think Worcester might be bigger.
Which is crazy to think about. Yeah. Because Worcester seems like a small city.
I know, you never think of Worcester for anything.
Yeah, yeah. But I forget where I was going with that. But So Providence is a small city, but it seems like such a cool city for like, especially for your genre, your type of music, because it is that kind of like artsy. Not that you guys are artsy, but like very like into like
open to like arts.
Open to arts, like music, theater, compared to other cities. I'm saying like Providence itself, they have RISD. And they have this interesting, like, keep Providence weird, like, vibe to it.
Yeah.
Of, like, the H.P. Lovecraft, like, style and stuff like that. So I feel like a band like yours, and as it has been, is, like, well-received and recepted in, like, Providence itself, which is cool.
Yeah, no, it's nice. And you're right. There's a really, like, massive art community. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with Talking Heads.
Yeah.
Talking Heads went to RISD.
Oh shit!
And
okay.
They're like one of the artsiest, like weirdest bands of all time.
Yeah.
And like, I just realized that like a couple of years ago. But like, it's like, oh damn! Like, so that like there is some lineage to like, like the light at the end of the tunnel coming from Providence.
Right.
It's awesome.
No, that's cool.
It's a good city, man.
Yeah. Any places you're looking at, like, and it doesn't have to be locked in, but like places you want to go next?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm always like talking to people that I meet from like TikTok and stuff, and I wanna get out to LA pretty soon.
Yeah.
We were talking to our buddies who are in a metal band down in Louisiana.
Cool.
That are doing really, really well. We want to get down there and play with them. We actually have one band from Florida coming up to play with us in the fall, which I'll announce. Like,
that's awesome.
We'll announce like show dates for that later. But yeah, I mean, there's a couple of places already that I'm like, okay, we should go here, we should go here, we should go here, and plan trips for these and that.
That's cool.
Given that we're not, we don't already have the opportunity to go on like a bigger tour.
Sure.
You know. But as of right now, I just kind of look at it like, okay, figured out the same way that we figured out Michigan. Like just set up a trip, find a place to stay. Whether someone offers for us to stay at their house or if we have to get an Airbnb, whatever it is.
Yep.
Just go out and make it happen.
Just do it.
That's it, dude.
Did you guys fly or you drive?
We flew, because we didn't have to bring a lot of our stuff.
That's nice.
That's the big thing.
Yeah, that's nice.
We didn't have to bring like the drum kit or any of our amps. One of the other bands allowed us to use the drum kit in their amps. And so we just brought our guitars and our effect pedals, and then Brody brought his cymbals and his snare drum, and then we were good. We were just able to fly.
Totally.
Which make it a lot easier for us.
I guess there probably is a way to bring all the stuff if you fly still, right? But like
there is. It's just real expensive.
Yeah, it becomes a huge pain.
At that point, I'd just rather drive.
Yeah, and you get the drive would be kind of fun, but at the same time, super like
it's just
drawn out.
It's just a long drive. That's all it is.
That's cool.
But I'm always down to make the haul, no matter how we got to do it.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah.
We're gonna loop back for a second. We'll go into the rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Let's actually even see. Do you want to see if anybody
Let's
asked any questions on here?
Let's see what's going on. I think people are just hanging out. I think we might have a little connection thing. Forgot my AirPods and coworkers. Oh, people are just mustache daddies. Everyone's asking about what podcast. This is the Roadie Strength podcast.
Roadie Strength
with my man Matt Sweeney.
So we're reading off comments for the podcast listeners when I release this on the TikTok feed here.
That's right. So I'm plugging Matt. So plus you guys can see this live and all this stuff. We're just putting it wherever we can.
Speaking of, this will be a nice transition to my next question. Favorite recent podcast you listened to?
Ooh, okay. I hate to sound basic when I say Joe Rogan.
That's all right.
Because
he's the #1 podcast for a reason.
But I mean, yeah, it's great. He kind of has a flavor for everybody.
Yeah.
He interviews a lot of really cool people, and some of which are like my idols, like James Hetfield, the singer of Metallica.
That was cool.
He has an old episode with him. He has one with Josh Homme, the singer of Queens of the Stone Age, who's like one of my favorite guys in rock music. Like. He just did one with Zach Bryan, who I love.
That's cool.
Yeah, that guy's
interesting.
Zach Bryan's a fucking cool dude.
Huh.
He's just like everything he says is poetry.
Yeah.
Everything that comes out of his mouth is poetry. It's insane. But like there's one that I listen to that's kind of goofy.
Okay.
And it's kind of like a way to humble myself. It's called Your Favorite Band Sucks.
It's a different podcast?
Yes, and it's a pretty big podcast in like the music community as far as I'm concerned. They're pretty big, but they basically just do entire episodes about massive bands that they don't get the hype on, and they just like tear them apart relentlessly.
It's like devil's advocate almost for a massive band. Like, well, they're great for this, but they actually suck for this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so they do that for like some of my favorite bands. Like they have one from Metallica. And I'm like, how could you possibly think Metallica sucks? They have like a 3-part Metallica sucks series.
No way.
They go for like 3 hours about Metallica.
Right. And I'm sure these guys are probably fans of these bands too. But they just want to like critique them and be like, hey, here's some holes that we can poke into it. Yeah,
right, and it's funny, but it's a kind of a cool way to be able to like acknowledge your favorite bands for their the things that people herald them for, and for their shortcomings. Being able to kind of just love them no matter what what people think about them. So it's kind of fun to listen to.
Yeah, and just get a different perspective.
It gives you a lot of perspective.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
One of the back on Joe Rogan for a second. One of the podcasts I listened to with him, or two of them that were really good. They were he has a lot of really good musicians on there. The guy from the Chili Peppers, or was it the Chili Peppers or the Foo Fighters?
Anthony Kiedis.
Yes. Did you listen to that one?
Yeah.
That one was really good.
Yeah.
Rick Rubin. Did you listen to that one?
Oh my God, I got
that was insane.
Clips out of that one. I didn't listen to the full one yet, but
that one was insane.
He's a really cool guy to listen to too.
Yeah.
'Cause he has so much crazy insight.
Right. Right.
He's just worked with all of these insanely massive bands.
So I didn't really get, and maybe you can give perspective on this, like what his role was for like producing. Is he just like a creative piece for? Because he's worked with like Jay-Z, like I think the Beatles, like massive. I hope I'm not misquoting any of these, but like massive bands and artists. And
System of a Down, and Metallica, and so many of these massive bands. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't think he's the producer. Like he's the guy doing the mixing.
Right.
But I'm like you said, I think he's kind of like an extra creative mind,
just creative genius
that works all of the nuance into songs properly and kind of pulls songs and albums together with bands, and offers like another take on it that like turns it into what it is. Like there was one he was talking about with System of a Down.
Okay.
And their biggest song is called Chop Suey.
Right. Yep.
You know Chop Suey.
Yeah.
You know Chop Suey. And the part where he says, Father, into your hands I commend my spirit.
Yeah.
I think he was talking about on Joe Rogan, where he was like, we didn't really know what to put there. So I just told them, like, open up a book near you and to a random page and put your finger down.
Yeah.
And the nearest book that they had was the Bible.
Yeah.
And so it said, Father, into your hands I commend my spirit. Why have
Yeah.
you forsaken me? And it out of context, you're like, oh, it doesn't make any sense with the song.
Yeah.
But they put it into the song, and all of a sudden it's the best part of the song.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
like that's the type of shit that Rick Rubin's doing, you know?
Yeah. He's a creative genius.
It's
a mad scientist.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and he looks like one too.
He does. He does. No, that's cool.
But yeah, I think that's about like the extent, as far as I know.
Do you guys, kind of drawing a parallel here, I'm skipping ahead, as far as songwriting, like music writing, do you guys have anything that like gets you in like the creative mood, or like what's your process look like for like songwriting, like practice, stuff like that?
So it's kind of all over the place, honestly.
All right, that's fair.
It's kind of all over the place, but we've learned to hone it in and kind of make it work. Where before Lance came into the band in middle of 2020, I was basically doing all of the songwriting, and I would get some help from my bandmates, and then Brody, and then my old bassist. But then Lance gets into the band, and I find out very quickly. I say this on TikTok all the time too. Lance is the best songwriter in the world that nobody knows about yet.
Yeah.
It's
well, some people know.
Right now some people know. Some people definitely know now, because I talk about it all the time. Because like I can't even take credit for some of the things that I'm singing, because Lance pulls together these fantastic songs, and if people are like, "Oh, you wrote this song so well," I'm like, Lance wrote the song so well.
Yeah.
You know, like "Come On Sadie."
Yep.
Was written
Yep.
entirely by Lance. The Rider was written like lyric wise entirely by Lance. I did a lot with like the melodies.
Sure.
But I mean the riffing, the lyrics, the guitar solo, obviously, all brought together by Lance. And it's kind of cool how both of our songwriting styles have learned to mesh. Because lately we've been on like a 50-50 split now, where it's like it used to kind of be like I would have a full song and show the guys, and then we work on it, or he would have a full song and show the guys, we work on it. But over time we kind of figure out like, ooh, I have a chorus. I have a really cool chorus. And then Lance is like, all right, let me write a verse around that. And I'm like, all right, you know what? Let me write this bridge around it. Or I'll start with like a riff that's been stuck in my head, and it'll become like the bridge riff of a song. And then we'll kind of build around that until we have this like two-headed monster song that mixes both of our things. Because like the way that I tend to write songs is I usually use lived experience.
Yep.
In my lyric writing, at least, where like, you know, something happens to me and I try to give this really, you know, unique, nuanced take about it.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And I try to convolute it a little bit so you can't pick it up on the first try, but you know, you kind of figure it out as you go along. Lance, and this is why I speak so highly of his songwriting, can sit down and completely fabricate a fake story. And then he'll sit there in silence for 15 minutes, and then he'll pop up and then show you one of the best songs you've ever heard. It's insane.
That's so awesome.
And so obviously he does like writing from his lived experience too, but he also has this aura
like storytelling,
this like fictional almost like sense of storytelling mixed with my very very deliberate and like kind of like real world writing, I guess. And when they come together, we've kind of figured out a way to make it work.
That's so cool.
So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun whenever we pull something together and we're like, oh my God, this is awesome.
That's awesome.
You know.
So you're going to band practice tonight?
Yes.
So are you guys going to be like I guess each band practice probably different, but like what will you guys be doing tonight, for example?
So tonight, since we have shows on Thursday and Friday.
Gotcha.
Thursday's going to be a little bit more of a warm-up show because we picked it up kind of last minute. And it's really tough to promote two shows in the same city back to back. You know
yeah. I mean, it can be done, but it's tough. Yeah,
right.
It's tough.
But to like ask everybody in the scene to come to two shows in a row for the same band to see the same exact show.
Yeah.
is like, So like,
Right.
we're kind of like we're talking about it obviously, but we're kind of talking more about this one on Friday because we've been planning it for a really long time.
Which one's on Friday?
That is gonna be at Fet Music Hall.
Cool.
And we're calling it Death of an Outlaw. It's this like this thing we want to eventually like blow up and turn into this huge. I guess I don't even know if I call it a festival, but of like guitar based music, whether it be like country western, outlaw country, heavy metal, rock and roll music, and kind of that whole span. And that's why like lately I've been calling myself on social media the heavy metal space cowboy.
Nice.
And that's like that's kind of like how the vibe is going to be for that whole night. Like I just bought these like ridiculous like expensive freaking cowboy boots that came in the mail yesterday.
Nice. Cowboy boots are expensive.
Yeah.
They're very expensive.
Yeah, they're like I don't even.
Couple $100, right?
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
it was like 200 something.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
like,
And that's probably on the cheaper end.
it was. There was like a bunch of like insane.
Yeah.
But these things were great and they were exactly what I was looking
dude.
for. So
If you wear those, that'll be so badass.
that's what I'm saying. And I'm definitely gonna like for every show ever now because I love them.
It's so funny where I was in Arizona recently, and there was like a cowboy boot store that only sold cowboy boots. And I walk in there, I'm like, oh, let me go check it out. I'm like, man, I probably will never wear these, or like wear them like very very infrequently. I'm like, I just can't. Like as a tourist item, like buy a pair of cowboy boots. But for you, that's perfect.
Well, right,
That's awesome. Yeah.
Exactly. Like now, I know exactly what is going to be on my feet for the rest of time on stage.
Dude, sick.
Like,
That's awesome.
Those will make it all the way to Madison Square Garden one day.
Let's go.
Like,
Let's go.
Yeah.
That's great. Are there many like rock and roll guys wearing cowboy boots right now? I feel like no.
There's like, I mean, that I've seen. There's a few.
There's a few, yeah.
There's a few. Someone was actually saying on my live stream last night because I was talking a little bit about the cowboy boots and stuff, about how cowboy boots are rock and roll,
dude.
And like, because it's a very cool, kind of meticulous, but at the same time like very badass look,
Right.
And they're versatile, and you can there's 9 million different types of cowboy boots, and
And it seems like every boot out there is like has its own unique style to it.
Right. It's got its own little mind of its own. And,
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool for like the type of style that a band can go for.
Yes.
You know, especially if they're a little bit on the flashier side.
Because you guys, part of your, correct me if I'm wrong, but part of your like show is like the way you guys are like presenting yourselves, like from a attire, but also like what you're doing on stage.
Definitely.
That's a big part of the performance piece of it.
Absolutely. We try to focus on the live show itself as much as the music, because you want to sound great, and then almost just as important, you want to look great.
Yeah.
And you want to be, at least I do, want to be this frothing alien monster from a different dimension that everyone watches and is like, what the who is this person? Is this a human being? What is this person?
Yeah.
It's almost like we like get into character, when we get on stage. It's almost like it's a different guy.
Yeah.
It's but like that's a really good observation, is that like we try to set a big focus on the live show itself, because I feel like that's what sets you apart from a lot of different acts.
There was I forget the country star name. There was a guy who played at Gillette maybe a month or two ago who is a really big name, but
Was Luke Combs?
Do you know what I'm about to say right now?
Maybe. Maybe.
So I have a friend who actually lives in Foxborough, so we were hanging out for the day, and he had some friends at the tailgate, so we just went and hung out with people at the tailgate. We didn't go to the show, but everyone was talking about like, oh yeah, blah blah blah, like can't wait to see Luke Combs, love his music. I think it was Luke Combs. I hope I'm not wrong on that. And they're like, yeah, but I didn't want to get the second day ticket because feel like one day is enough. He pretty much just stands on stage and plays guitar. Doesn't really do much more than that. It's like he doesn't have much of like a performance aspect.
Right.
It was kind of like, I guess, one of the critiques of like, obviously it'd be a great show, but but that was one of the drawbacks.
Yeah, because he sounds great, but that happens sometimes in country.
Yeah.
Like I saw, me and Zach went to go see Chris Stapleton.
Sure. I could see that being similar.
And he sounded perfect. He sounded so good, and the stage set.
I love Chris Stapleton.
He's great,
yeah.
man. and the stage set was so beautiful. It looked like the Grand Ole Opry. It was like
That's cool.
Yeah, it was like Xfinity Center. But like we were up pretty close because like Zach's always like, oh, we're buying the nice tickets. Let's go. We're buying the expensive tickets.
Shout out Zach.
Yeah. For those of you guys wondering, Zach is the GM of this fine establishment and one of our very good friends, the bodybuilder that I always refer to in my live streams.
He's probably upstairs doing Tom Platt squats right now.
Probably.
If I were to guess.
Probably. I saw him on the way in, so he's definitely up there.
Yeah.
But I couldn't help but notice the whole time he kind of was, stoic and right on the mic, and his talents and the style of music he's playing kind of allow him to do that.
Yes.
Same thing with like guys like Luke Combs,
Yeah.
So I can never really judge them for that.
No.
But at the same time, like I'm the kind of guy who wants to go and see
a performance,
the frothing alien monster from another dimension. That's why I like
Yeah.
Ghost, because Ghost, they have the fire and the smoke, and Tobias Forge, the lead singer, he plays a character named Papa Emeritus.
Yeah.
And he every album or so, they kill one Papa Emeritus, and then like another Papa Emeritus, converges and becomes the new king of the
Like
clergy.
world,
Yeah, it's
okay.
The clergy. There's this like occult thing that they do, and they do like short films on YouTube.
Oh wow.
And where like they have like their their leaders like Sister Imperador and Papa Nil, and they basically tell them like, oh, you need to be sluttier. You need more. You need more Grammys. You need more human beings. And like it's cool, and they have this like crazy storyline. And then when they go on stage, they're all wearing masks. You don't know who anybody on stage is, except for obviously Tobias Forge. But like if he's wearing the mask, I don't even think that he responds to Tobias.
Sure.
Like he's insane, and he's a wonderful singer with wonderful songs, and they're dancing, and there's costume changes, and he comes out in like a Pope outfit for part of it, and they do this like it's just there's a big cathedral on stage, and like there's like stained glass, and during one of their songs, Mummy Dust, they fire off cannons, and then dollar bills fall from the sky, and then when you pick one up, it's a $666 bill. And on the face of the bill is Papa like this.
That's like such attention to detail on every piece of the performance is unreal. Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, it's like a Broadway show.
It is. It's like the pinnacle of performance to me. It's like the best performance I've ever
That's
seen.
really cool. I feel like that's what you need to do. I mean, obviously, like not taking away from Chris Stapleton because they have their own style, but like, I don't know, for a live show, like it's a performance.
Why not? If you have
like,
the
might
money,
as well.
right?
Yeah.
You got the money. You got the epic songs. Let's just go all the way.
So another piece of that, which might be something, could be true or not, but I'm gonna put it out there. So guys like Luke Combs, Chris Stapleton, obviously not the pinnacle of what you would think of as far as fitness goes.
Right.
So like, in order to be jumping around the stage, like going crazy, like you have to have like some level of like health and fitness, like being able to, because obviously like it's a workout. Like if you're up the stage for that long, so. That could be part of the reason where they're like, okay, let's choose to do like this more of this style, or maybe it has nothing to do with it, but
yeah, I think there is definitely something to be said about that.
Yeah,
especially because you see me in here all the time. I'm
always
in the sauna and stuff, and a lot of that is because I want to be conditioned for
like in a way for performance.
For performance,
yeah,
exactly. Because because we're with just the moves that we're doing and all the stuff, we're banging heads and we're doing all this choreography and stuff. You want to be okay to be able to do that and then still sing, especially the way that I sing, which is pretty up there. So like, it's kind of like a big core workout, and then like it's like you're doing Zumba on stage.
Yeah, literally.
So you got to be ready. A really good example of like kind of what you're talking about here is like, look at like Kenny. Kenny Chesney is like,
gotcha,
because he's probably 50 now. But when when we saw him at Gillette last year, he's
sick,
running around.
Yeah,
and he's everywhere because he's shredded. He's
in peak condition,
fantastic shape, and so he can handle that huge stage and cover all of it and play for 3 hours.
Insane,
because he's in insane shape.
That's like I think you were at the show with us last year. It was in East Providence at the Indian Point Park area.
Yeah,
Kip Moore. Same thing, shredded.
Yeah.
Shredded.
Crazy shape. Dirks Bentley was the same way.
Yep.
And there's definitely nothing against like the big boys who are like they plant their feet and they belt it out. Like there's definitely nothing wrong with that because like we were saying about like Luke Combs and Chris Stapleton.
Exactly. Yeah.
They're incredible.
Yeah.
And it's just a different style of performance.
No, it was interesting too about now that I think about it with Kit Moore was that I get there. I was with my buddy Tim. We both have a CrossFit background.
Yeah.
And we get there, and Matt Frazier was there in the crowd.
Oh, yeah.
Who is the 5-time CrossFit champion in the world.
Oh, shit.
And I guess he's really good friends with Kit Moore. And then I'm like, but now that we're talking about this, I'm like, okay, like, obviously, I mean, the music and everything, but fitness is also a good enough, like, piece of this guy's life where, like, he's friends with, like, some of these people, like, you know, like, in these other, in the health and fitness world. So, like, these guys are showing up to his show. Like,
right.
You know, like.
And then, and another, like, perfect example, I mean, because obviously I look to Greta for a lot of this kind of stuff. And as far as I'm concerned, Josh is, like, he's like on the ball about, because he's not like it doesn't seem like he's a big like gym guy, but it you'll see him in videos and stuff talking about how he doesn't eat sugar.
Yep.
He doesn't eat dairy.
Yep.
He like hardly eats. He can only eat like this specific thing, and then he has to take his supplements, and then he has to have like a turmeric shot or something like that.
Sure.
And that's how he prepares.
Yeah.
And how he gets his voice ready to be able to do the insane things that he does with his voice.
I want to ask you about that too.
Yeah.
So do you do something similar, like to prep for like your shows? Because obviously you're like doing very or trying to like accomplish very like high performance with your voice too.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. That's a big thing and that's why when 2023 started, I kind of stopped drinking so much.
Yeah.
And like obviously like when there's an event where I'm like I feel like we can cut loose a little bit.
Yeah.
That's
I
different.
mean, it was my wedding last weekend. You can ask Zach and Jeremiah. I was like,
I
had quite a few beers.
The time of your life, dude.
Exactly.
The time of your life. That's like the best day of your life, dude.
End of the night, I have my shirt off, just running around like,
what are you gonna do? Not do that? You know?
Exactly.
Exactly.
So, no, I get that. Like, if there's an event, like you let loose a bit, but
Like my buddy Kyle had his wedding in May, and we had a show the next day, so I just made sure I was having like liquid IV and water with my drinks.
That stuff works pretty well.
Magic.
I'm very surprised.
Dude, they had like a 500 pack at their wedding.
Yeah.
And with the open bar. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to have drinks. I had like 15 drinks, which is a ridiculous amount of alcohol.
Yeah.
But
I did the same Saturday.
But between every few drinks or so, I would have a water, and then in all of my drinks, I would put a little bit of liquid IV in there.
Oh.
And so I never got like belligerent. I never blacked out.
Yep.
I never felt crappy.
Good.
And then when I woke up the next morning, I was ready
to go. Ready to play.
It was nuts.
Let's go.
I couldn't even describe it. It was insane. But yeah, no, I try, to stay almost overhydrated like the week of a show. I don't like to drink before I go on stage.
Yeah.
Because we tried that like a few years ago, and it's like I don't enjoy it. We're not as good when we're not at 100%.
Because you do see that obviously with like bands, like people will have like people buy the musicians beer and they'll be drinking beer on stage, but to a point too, like your voice is like it's not like you're just going up there and like trying to think of an example of like there's some musicians who like. Well, like their voice isn't the biggest piece of the band.
Right.
They may have like a raspy voice, and it's still good music. But like I know for you want to make sure your voice is like peak condition.
Exactly. Like if you look at a guy like Zach Bryan.
Yeah.
Zach Bryan could go on stage and have whiskey through his set.
Yeah.
Because he's got that very let me go, and he's like in that range that he has, and
he'll be fine,
and it's great, but he'll be fine there.
Yeah.
For me, like if I have a couple before I go on stage, all of a sudden I'm dry.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just and then once you have alcohol in you, then you get really excited, and you're having a good old time, and you forget to tighten up and stay true to the form and like.
True.
Deliver what you have to deliver.
True.
Sometimes you're overshooting notes and you're just screaming out and you're blowing your voice. And I figure, if we want this to be a job, we want this to be a full-time job, you got to treat it like work.
You got to be professional.
That's it, man.
Yeah. Have you had experiences? Sorry to beat this question to death, but experiences where like you're coming off like a sickness and you have a show coming up.
Oh yeah.
What do you do? What do you do with that?
I just try my best to get rid of it before we go on. And, God forbid I can't. I'm like, all right, we're going on. I actually went on stage with strep throat one time.
Oh, my God.
Like, before my antibiotics started kicking in.
Oh.
So it hurt a lot.
I bet.
I was still able to make it happen, and I've learned to sort of dance around melodies so that I can like find something that works for me if I can't hit everything.
Sure.
Which I feel like is really important. Being able to find other melodies if you can't hit the one particular one.
Right.
But like I remember one time last year we played in Cape Cod.
Okay.
And I had this horrendous stomach bug where I was just fluids out everywhere. Like I was throwing up like a lot. I was just horrible. But I just was queasy and gross, and I had kind of a fever, but we played on, and I was trying to kick that the week before. It was a Friday show, and then we went on Friday night, and I still wasn't feeling great. And the stage was the hottest stage I've still ever played on.
Oh, God.
And all of my guys will say the same thing. It was like the hottest stage of all. Like, we didn't even like do some of the moves because Brody had asked us like, dude, why you guys missed this move? You guys missed this move. And me and Lance were like, we were just trying to stay alive on stage.
Try not to pass out.
I was like that close a couple of times.
Oh,
man.
I'm
like, oh my God. But you gotta keep it on. And after we were done, people are obviously like offering you beers and stuff, and I was like, don't even bring that shit near me right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw up. If I smell it, I'll throw up.
I want to go to bed right now.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I mean, you just got to find a way,
I want to ask you a separate question about a story you had told me. If you want to tell it, if not, it's fine. About the show you did in Middletown.
Oh yeah.
Because that kind of reminds me about like how like passing out on stage is a little different, but
right.
So, are you okay telling that story?
Yeah,
is that right?
That's cool.
So the show in Middletown, you guys are supposed to play for, but you couldn't because the entire show got canceled.
Yes.
What happened that night?
So, it was at the FOP Lodge.
Yep.
And it was set up by my buddy who's in a bunch of bands. He's most notably in a Chris Cornell tribute band called Say Hello to Heaven. They're very, very successful in the region. But he also has a band that he's a little bit older. He's like 45 years old.
Okay.
But he plays in a couple other bands, and he had this original band that he had kind of started and was practicing with. And he was like, dude, we got to get a show together. I'll set up the whole thing. We'll do like donation based, but we'll pay you guys. And I'm like, oh, you don't have to do that. And he's like, no, we'll set up donation. I'll get all like the Halloween shit going. We'll get a bunch of people in. I'll hammer it on Facebook, and you can hammer it on Instagram and social media, whatever you do. And so that's what we did. And there was like one band that went on first, then his band, then us. And first band went on, everything was fine. People start really loading in. I was a little bit surprised. I was like, damn. There's like a lot of freaking people showing up to this thing right now. I'm like, this is pretty cool. Okay, I didn't expect this. It's in Middletown. I'm like, all right, hell yeah. And like some of my Newport buddies were like Ubering there.
Yeah.
Like my the owner of the Red Parrot showed up. I was like, damn, like a lot of people were here. I'm like, this is great. And I forgot at the beginning of my buddy's set. Oh my God, I forgot to restring one of my guitars. So me and Brody go into like the other room, like outside of where the stage was, and we're like restringing my guitar like, really fast. We're just talking and whatever. And then eventually, like we kind of like, after a few minutes, we're like, there's no music playing. Why isn't there any music playing? And then we look up and everyone's like freaking out. And we're like, what the fuck's going on? And we go over and this guy was like on the ground out because there's a door directly behind the drum kit, and he was just on the ground like what it looked like dead because he was for a few minutes.
Yeah.
And it turns out he had a heart attack on stage. Luckily he's fine now.
Yeah, it's good.
But it was scary, dude. He just straight up had a heart attack on stage. I won't go into if it was like his personal health
details.
issues or like if it was anything else, but like but it kind of like it was freaky because there was a lot of people showing up, and it was like a lot of people's first time seeing something like that.
Yeah,
And
maybe that style of show or just a show in general like that.
Yeah, well, but then what I was referring to is like seeing something like really dark like that.
Oh.
Like this guy just died. Like, and
yeah, in front of a couple hundred people.
yeah, it was just about, yeah, and
Jeez.
it was probably probably around 100 people by the time that happened. And we were standing there, and there were some people who like traveled from a couple states over who like came up to me and they were like, "Hey, are you guys still gonna play?" And I was like,
No,
I'm not
can't.
I'm not gonna go up there and sing about zombies and death.
After somebody just died.
After that, and
Yeah.
like I said, luckily they revived him and he was okay. He's fine now, but yeah, it was just like it was spooky. I was
Yeah.
like, jeez.
Yeah.
You know, and it puts things in perspective for you. Again, being in the proper condition to be able to perform at a high level.
Sure. Sure.
And was he an older guy? He was like, he was like 40 something.
Right.
But like, you know, that's one of those things that almost like scares me into like, all right, well, you got to be in shape, you got to be healthy, you got to be ready to go for anything.
Right.
Anything. It's going to be hot up there. It's going to be lights flashing on you.
Mhm.
It's going to be loud. People are screaming at you. There's going to be all the noise from behind you. Like you have to be you know, stone cold, ready to go.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where I'm like, all right, well, that's why I come here. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a quote. I think maybe Mark Bell. You know Mark Bell.
Mark Bell.
He's he runs
he's a bodybuilder guy.
bodybuilder.
Right?
Yeah. I think he might have said it, or there might be somebody else. Was like stronger people are just harder to kill.
That's
like,
it, man.
If you're a stronger person, like it's harder to take you down.
That's
so
it.
it's
What was
like,
it? Was it Jordan Peterson or Joe Rogan who said it? Whereas like, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. You know.
True.
So like you might as well be as tough as you can.
Yeah.
For anything.
Ready for anything.
Exactly.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
We're coming up to the top of that here, but I have a couple other questions that I wanted to ask you, so we'll look through. Actually, let's maybe look and see if anybody. Do you want to check and see if anybody asks anything?
Yeah.
So we're checking the TikTok feed again here.
Get more. We got people saying. I love watching people explain ghosts. Everyone's just saying hi. Everyone's saying hi. Everyone's supporting.
That's awesome.
Cowboy boots. Ben Hevner is actually in here right now.
Hey, let's go. What's up, Ben?
And he's explaining where the cowboy boot thing comes from for me personally. He said the cowboy boots make sense because Ross called his style of lacrosse goaltending the cowboy style.
Oh.
And that's because my coaches, one of my coaches, we're just hanging out. Yeah, all the fans are just hanging out here. But that was actually where the whole space cowboy thing came from. Because when I was in high school, when I was the goalie.
Yeah.
And my defense pole guys were like, I had a couple of like talented dudes, but overall it was guys who were like kind of just getting into that starting spot. And
Sure.
I had already been starting for a couple of years, and so
Where'd you play?
And Lincoln.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But so senior year, Mark, who I played with for a year when I was a freshman, he was the head coach by the time I was a senior.
Oh wow.
So he was my really good friend, and so eventually they started calling my clears the cowboy clears. And so I started calling it like the space cowboy, and then like my teammates kind of caught on to it, and so like eventually it was like, oh, Mag's the cowboy.
I love that.
And so now once I like on TikTok now I have like a bunch of ridiculous nicknames for myself, like
That's awesome.
Uncle Rossi, the hip swinging king of all things menacing. You know, like
or like you wrote up my board, like you're good with that, just coming up with like lingos.
That's exactly
so
what it is.
He wrote on my board. So we're in a PT office. I'm a PT, by the way. I probably didn't explain that, but Maniac Matt Sweeney,
the hypervolt slinging, post-workout stinging, recovery quickening, bodybuilding muscle mage. Brought
Fantastic.
to you by Stone Nobles.
Poetic. Whatever you wrote before I have a picture of it somewhere. It was incredible
there's
too.
There's a few of them, yeah.
We hit a lot of the questions I was really interested in, except for one. And if you've gotten into this a lot with your fans in the past, we can skip this. But kind of your origin story about how you got into like music in general, like playing guitar, singing.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess I'll start with singing because I kind of got there first.
Yeah.
So I was never a singer growing up.
Yeah.
I was in band. I was a trumpet player.
Same.
Yeah. I loved it, dude. I was super into it.
Yeah.
I was in like jazz band in high school.
Sweet.
Yeah, I was decent at it.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it. I just enjoyed playing music
Mm-hmm.
and playing with my friends, and like, the band director was the man, and he taught me a lot about like what I now know about music and stuff. And um, but I remember my senior year of high school. During the fall, there's a big production that Lincoln is very well known for, called the Variety Show. It's a very long-standing tradition at Lincoln High School, where it's this student-led production where there's dance ensembles, a music ensemble, and a comedy ensemble. And the comedy ensemble puts on like SNL type skits. The music ensemble covers 10 different songs, and there's horns and guitars and drums and vocalists for each song. And then the different dance crews, like there's like a girls chorus line, like a bunch of senior girls, boys chorus line, bunch of senior boys, but it's like kind of like a joke dance because it's dudes. There's like the boy-girl chorus line, the underclass is hip-hop, stuff like that. And so I had done music ensemble on trumpet my junior year, and it was a lot of fun, and I wanted to do it again senior year. And Lincoln wasn't very well known for its male vocalists.
Sure.
So I was in math class one day with my buddy Andrew Wynn. His last name is Wynn, so I call him Wynn. And so me and Wynn are sitting in math class, and there was this kid who was in that class with us, who was your kind of like typical theater kid dude, and he was very outward about the fact that like he's the guy. I'm the guy who sings in V Show, and I'm the most talented guy. Da 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 da. And he kind of like gave me and Win some crap about like just being the horns guys. Like, oh wow, yeah, guaranteed spot in horns again this year, huh? And I just looked at him and I was like, so what happens if me and Win audition for vocals, and we beat you out of the spot? What happens? I didn't know he could sing. I didn't know I could sing.
Yeah, just a competitive thing. Just be like, all right, what's up?
Right, yeah. We were like, all right, what's up, dude? What's going on? And then we go into the auditions, and then I remember a couple weeks later they put the cast list out in the music room, and I look over and everybody's like freaking out, like, oh my god. And I look down at this thing and it says Ross Magliocco and Andrew Wynn.
No way.
And I was like,
let's go.
And it turns out Wynn just so
he
happened.
must have been so heated.
Oh, he was pissed. He was pissed. It was my singing career started out of spite.
Yeah.
It was basically.
I love it.
But then like we go on, I go on to find out even before we start practicing for this show that during Wynn's audition, he moved the directors to tears with his voice. I was like, so Wynn has a crazy voice too, and then when I finally heard him sing, I was like, damn, he does. And then I had my style.
Yeah.
It wasn't nearly as refined as it now is.
Sure.
Because I just started. I don't really know how to do it yet. But like it was the start. It was a start.
Right.
And I remember even then, before I had any idea of professionalism in music, they assigned me a song. It was the Denial Twist by the White Stripes.
Cool.
And it's kind of like a deep cut, like White Stripes song, but it's cool. And they were like, fits your voice. It's like rocky, kind of poppy, very flowy. It's kind of your style. And I remember the first practice in like December. Because I had listened, I was like, I want to be ready for the first practice. I'm gonna know my fucking song. And so I like listened to it like 300 times, leading up in the weeks before. And then I show up to practice, and we knocked the song out of the park first time.
First time you tried it?
Yeah.
Wow.
And the because there's like student directors, but there's also like the 3 like teacher directors, and one of them is the chorus teacher. And he was like, all right, well, your form was a little off, but otherwise like that was perfect. Like, you guys are good for today.
Like, oh, that was quick.
And I remember
it took us 4 minutes.
After I finished the song, and then he said that, I turned around, and the entire like cast of like the girl, all like a bunch of like the dancers, were like watching me from like the little stoop in the music room, like looking down. They were all like, "What the fuck? Where did that come from?" And that was my first taste of being a front man. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
And then we played 3 big sold out shows to like 800 people a night. And I was like, this is the coolest thing ever.
No way.
Yeah. And then I kind of dropped it after high school until my sophomore year. of college, I failed out of URI, and then I kind of was in a rut. I was like delivering pizzas. I was at community college, and like I was just really sad. I was just at my fucking parents' house. I just, like my life was up here. It was so much fun. Everything was great. And then I'm like, oh no, I'm at home.
Down.
Yeah, it sucked. And then I remember my phone died one day when I was on my way to home from class. So I put on rock radio 94 HJY, and I'm like driving home, and this song comes on. And it's like this riff, like down, and then I hear this, and I was like, "What the fuck is that? What is that?" And I couldn't look it up. My phone was dead. I'm like, "Oh my god!" And I was like, "This isn't a Zeppelin song. I would recognize a Zeppelin song."
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Wait!" By about halfway through, when they get to that bridge, and he's all, "Damn, I was like, "Is this that Greta band? Holy shit." And then I went home and I charged my phone and I downloaded the album, and then I was delivering pizzas that night, and I was listening to it all the way through, and on one of my last deliveries of the night, the last song, Black Smoke Rising, came on. And I was like, these guys are your age and they are topping the rock charts, sounding like that. You should be doing that.
Yeah.
That's what you should be. You should be playing rock and roll music.
Yeah.
And I bought a guitar the next day.
No way.
Bought a guitar the next day.
Did you know how to play it before that?
Nope.
No way.
Nope.
He's like, all right, I'm gonna figure this out.
Yeah, and then everyone.
That's cool.
Yeah, everyone told me that you're not gonna be good at guitar for at least a year. So I was like, screw you. I'm gonna get good in a month. So I would get home from work every night at like midnight, and I would stay up till like 3 a.m. like hopelessly like learning how to play the guitar.
That's awesome.
And eventually, I got like about 10 months in, I started Stone Nobles.
That's awesome.
So I'd been playing guitar for like 10 months, and I'm like, I want to start a band now. Let's do it. And I kind of have just been figuring out it as I go, and like playing with people who are way better than me, and
Yep.
being the little fish in the big pond is important.
Totally.
you know.
Yeah.
But it kind of started from there, and
That's so cool.
and it never stopped, dude.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I ended up getting back into URI too, so I finished at URI.
Nice.
But so I kind of got the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Right.
Got back on your feet, got back to URI, got the degree, and then kept ripping the music up.
Right, and then I just became more and more addicted to it until now. I'm like, this is what I want to freaking do, man.
Yeah. Did your URI experience have anything to do with music, or is it completely separate?
To an extent.
Yeah.
Stone Nobles really started on accident because it was, for obviously I was in Greek life. I was in a frat.
Yeah.
And they do that whole the Greek week stuff. They do like a big pageant where they do Mr. Greek Week, Mrs. Greek Week.
Sure.
And so I was Mr. Kappa Sigma my freshman year,
Mm-hmm.
and I came in second place for singing, just singing. And I was like, all right. So then I came back for junior year, and I'm like, now I can play guitar. So I'm like, all right, well, I know this kid, Brody.
Yeah.
He's in a band called Blind Rooster with this kid, Lance. So I'm going to hit him up and say, hey, do you guys want to play?
Were they URI guys too?
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
Like, do you want to play Highway Tune by Greta Van Fleet in front of all of Greek life with me? And they were like, hell yeah. So, but
that's cool.
Instead of hitting up Blind Rooster, Brody hit up my old bass player, Dave, and then we had like another drummer, actually that guy Mark I was talking about, my old coach. He's also an incredible metal drummer. So we got Mark, and then he only made it for the first practice, and then we were like, we were just kind of practicing with like this revolving door of musicians, and then eventually a guy in the frat asked me, he's like, oh, who's gonna be Mr. Kappa Sigma? And I was like, oh, me, because no one ever wants to do it.
Yeah.
And I was the Greek Week chair, so I had the say. and no one ever wants to do it, so I was like, I'm gonna do it. And so he goes, well, I don't think that's fair. Like, we should leave it up to a vote.
Like, in a typical frat boy voice.
I was like, all right. He was a cool guy. No,
Yeah.
It was a guy, Marcel. He was a really cool guy. But
Nice.
he was like trying to be like really fair about it. And
Sure, yeah. All right, fair.
I was like, that's fine. That's fair. So I in the big chat, I was like, all right, well, who would you guys want to see as Mr. Kappa Sigma? And then they cast a couple of votes out, and so we did a big ballot. And this guy, Jim Bailey, who played like violin, beat me by a landslide. So I had to go to this group of guys one day out of the blue, and I had to find the heart to tell them, hey, guys, so we're not doing Mr. Greek Week anymore. And then Brody just goes, want to keep playing? And I was like, shit, yeah. And that's when we started writing Magnetic Woman. We were like,
Let's go.
"Man." And I already had Child of the Night written. We didn't work on that for a little while, but like, I was like, yeah, let's just keep playing, man.
And it just kept going from there.
That's it, man. And then eventually we've just kept finding a way to make it happen.
That's awesome.
You know, but like, you know, it's a lot of obstacles and steps, but like you just gotta find a way to do it.
Dude, that's so cool.
That's it, man.
I won't keep you much longer because I know you have to go to practice.
Mm-hmm.
I finished with 3 questions,
Okay.
and 2 of them are kind of the same. But so, what's in store for the future? So I know you have the show coming up on Friday, and you said Friday and Saturday.
Thursday, Friday.
Thursday, Friday. Where are those at?
So Thursday we're gonna be at Alchemy in Providence.
Okay.
And then Friday is going to be Death of an Outlaw at Fett Music Hall in Providence.
Cool.
That's going to be the one you're probably going to want to go to. That's like the one with the ticketed event. It's like, bigger venue. It's a lot of hype around it already. So it's going to be a good time. Both of them are going to be a good time, but that one's going to be
Sweet deal.
Anything
you want to plug as far as what Instagram, socials, TikTok?
Yeah, I mean, obviously everyone here knows exactly what's up. But for everybody listening on the pod, you can find me on TikTok at Ross Magliocco, exactly the way that it's spelled on the episode when it releases.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to follow the band on Instagram, it's going to be Stone Nobles, STONENOBLES. You'll find my Instagram and Lance and Kaiser and Brody's Instagrams on there. We're going to be releasing a song in the fall, so make sure if you're on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you listen, we try to be as available as possible. Just follow us there, stream the stuff that's already out, and get excited because this next song's coming out in the fall.
Hell yeah.
And then we're just trying to take over the world.
That's all. Just one song at a time.
That's right, dude.
And then last question, and if you don't have one off the top of your head, that's fine. But if you have a favorite quote, mantra, or saying, the way I describe this is on Route 95, the billboard that Rob Levine always uses.
Yeah.
You get that Rob Levine. You take the heavy hitters, his billboard for the day. So usually I describe this as something like something you can say to like your local community, people that are driving by it, like just in general to like Rhode Islanders. But you could put whatever you want on it for a day.
Okay. I would say one popped it right into my head. It's easy to be great when mediocrity is the standard. And basically what that is like, today, to an extent, like we're not even expected in society to like work hard.
Yeah.
So if you have something that you want to do, something that you believe in, something that you want to chase, all you got to do is just do it. Just
do it.
Fucking do it. And it might suck at first, but if you do something, this is another thing something that Lance says that it could also be on that billboard. If you do something long enough and if you're devoted enough to it, it gets really hard to suck at it after a while.
I like that too.
So if you have something that you're trying to chase, you might as well do it because no one expected you to do it anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that.
If everybody else isn't going to do it, why don't you do it?
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool, man. Well, we'll end on that.
Yeah, sweet.
Good stuff.
Yeah, good stuff indeed.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I guess to the TikTok followers, this will be coming out hopefully soon, but usually takes me like 2-3 weeks to release it on the Roadie Strength podcast, which is on Spotify and Apple.
Yep, it's the title of this live too, so make sure you screenshot that and so you can look it up on Spotify later on, and Apple, you said?
And Apple, yep.
Yeah, cool.
Awesome, man.
All right,
well,
nice.
Thank you.
Nice work.
We'll wrap it up.
Let me get out of the live. Thank you, everybody. Good night, sleep tight, and get out of my sight.
Roadie Strength signing off.